For today's review, we are looking at Arsenal from the Titans build wave, and before I talk about the accessories and the figure, let's take a quick look at the data profile card. As you can see, there is this beautiful comic book artwork of Arsenal, and on the backside of the card, you do have your usual read-up for who the character is. His real name is Roy Harper, and it reads, adopted by a Navajo shaman named Brave Bull, orphan Roy Harper spent his early teens learning survival skills and becoming a crack archer. He learned so quickly, he eventually earned the nickname Speedy. Making his way to Seattle, Roy served as costume sidekick and mechanical engineer to millionaire Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow. In addition to battling alongside the Emerald Archer, Roy was a founding member of the Teen Titans. And that's a pretty good read-up on who Arsenal is as a character. And let's move on to the accessories that are included with this action figure. So for this first accessory here, he does come with this item, which, do correct me in the comments below, is this called a quiver? Is that what they use to store their arrows in? I don't think quiver is the right term for this. I don't remember, but yeah, he does come with this accessory. There are some nicely sculpted details on here, such as the pouches on the side, where you can store stuff. And of course, there are some details that are sculpted onto the actual item itself, right? You got these straps, you got these little like dotted textures that are present, even on this side right here. Now you can see that there is a peg right there that is meant to go on the back of the figure, which I will show later in the video. So that's pretty much the details of this accessory. And for comparisons, here's the one that came with Connor Hawk Green Arrow, and as you can see, they are identical, because the one that Connor Hawk Green Arrow has is, of course, a reuse of this one that came with Arsenal. And the differences between them is mainly their colors. So my camera is not really showing the colors in the proper sense, but this one is not a dark brown, it's a dark reddish brown in person. Like, I'm seeing this not through the camera. It has a more reddish color to it. This one is just a dark brown color. So just for clarifications right there to show the differences between these two accessories. And moving on to the next accessory, he does come with, of course, his arrows, which are all bunched up together like this, as you can see. And they are meant to go into the storage thing like that. Unfortunately, he does not come with any singular arrow where he can hold in his hand to look like he's going to shoot an arrow. For some reason, Mcfarlane does not ever do that with any of these bow user characters, which makes no sense to me because, you know, you look at Marvel Legends, Hawkeye has a couple figures where he can pretty much, you know, do that pose, right? So why couldn't they do it for any of the characters they made using a bow? I just think that's kind of lazy. So yeah, there's that whole problem. And here is the comparisons between these two accessories. So it is the same exact sculpt. The only difference is the colors. And for the one that came with Connor Hawk, you can see that it's just all green. But for the one that came with Arsenal, there is some differences with the colors here to pretty much show you where the ending of the arrow are. So that's nice. And yeah, there is this accessory. And for the final accessory that he comes with, just for the action figure himself, he does have his bow, which is a very modern looking bow that is different from the one that comes with Connor Hawk Green Arrow, where it's much more in the traditional style. So there are the differences between these bows. And to point out some details here, I do like the sculpted details that are present on this bow, but unfortunately the red paint does hide most of the details, which is unfortunate because this red paint is a very bright red paint that's very plasticky looking. So in this case, if you are a customizer and you want to change the way that this looks, yeah, using a metallic red paint of some kind could probably make it look a lot better than, you know, the standard paint that they used here. Even the string part of it, you could probably change it to something else because it is just a very plasticky looking accessory. I mean, it is made out of plastic, right? But what I'm saying is that, you know, they could have tried to make it look at least a little bit better, in my opinion. But yeah, there is his bow, and I will show how this looks like in his hands later in the video. So yeah. And of course, since he is the last figure in this wave that you would need to complete the Beast Boy Build-A-Figure, he did come with both of the legs. So there is everything that comes with Arsenal, and let's move on to the aesthetics of this figure. Looking at Arsenal, he does continue the theme of this build wave, which is having this extra detail element present with these comic book design figures. And what I mean by this is that if you look at the red parts of his costume, in most cases it would just be a flat red surface. But there is a lot of texturing details applied to these areas so it doesn't look plain, and it also allows the figure to stand out a lot more, having this sort of realism with his suit. And I love that you can see this sort of design present throughout a lot of the red parts of his suit, like right here between his legs, and even on the back part of his costume, right? All this texturing that is applied here. So that is a very nice touch that they did. And in terms of other details, you can see that in the brown areas, there are some straps right here, like for example, the ones on the shoulders, they do go all the way to the backside because they're supposed to connect to this accessory to make it look like it's one attachment. So that's another nice detail. And for his belt, he does have some pouches that are sculpted. They are painted all in the same brown color, but the middle part right here where it's the arrow and insignia is in a red color. Now, of course, this could have been painted in a different red color because it does match with the rest of his costume, and it looks really blended in my opinion. So they could have done something different here, but nevertheless, not too bad. And then, of course, the belt goes all the way to the backside. And then for his legs, he does have some details down here. I don't know what's going on here. Is this like one big boot? Or is it all just like a separate piece? Or maybe it's one entire piece. I'm not too sure what's happening down here with the costume. But, you know, it does have this mix of brown color, which is, you know, having some details right here, all the way to the bottom of his shoes. And then for his arms, he does have some sort of like, I don't know what to call this, but it is some sort of gear that you can see archers wear. Yeah, they wear this sort of thing when they use a bow. I don't know the term of it, so do let me know in the comments what it's called. But I've seen this when I've seen people practice archery. It is that sort of that thing. It's okay. So there's that. He does have that on this side of his arm because this is where he holds his bow, and of course he does have this for this side of the arm because this is where he's pretty much going to pull the string back and fire the arrow. So it is meant to protect his hands as well. I believe that's what this is for, and his arm. So there's that detail. And he does have tattoos. So it says poison right there, which I don't know what's going on with these tattoos because I don't know much about this character outside of his appearance from Young Justice. That's all I know about this character. So yeah, he has tattoos like this. On this side, he does have another tattoo that's a skull face with some tentacles and not butterfly wings. That's supposed to be angel wings. So yeah, he got some tattoos. Not bad. They're actually done really nicely too, the way that they're printed on. So nice details. And of course, last but not least, we do have his head sculpt. And for his head sculpt, the glasses are nice, but I wish they were transparent so you can see his eyes. Because, you know, I'm assuming that these glasses are transparent in the comics. Maybe you can see his eyes, or maybe they're not. Maybe that's just how he looks like in the comics. I'm not too sure because the design of this figure is not exactly the same as what we see with the source material. So it is different. But there is his head sculpt. He is wearing his, you know, hat right there, which is not a bad looking hat. I believe there's also texturing on there, right? Yes, there is. Yeah, to capture the realism of a hat. Not bad. And then you can see his hair sculpt is tucked in underneath his hat. So overall, not a bad looking head sculpt. And everything to this figure in terms of its details are done solidly, in my opinion. So that is pretty much all the aesthetics for Arsenal. Starting with the head sculpt, he can look up a little bit. Not the best, as you can see, because of the way that the neck is sculpted on this figure. Now, when it comes to looking down, he doesn't have any problems. When it comes to turning his head left and right, tilting his head side to side. Everything works in that sense, so his head sculpt's articulation is decent, but when it comes to looking up all the way, not going to happen because of the way that his neck is sculpted, so that is unfortunate. Now, when it comes to his arms, he can get them out this much, right? He can also swing them back and forth with no problems. He does have bicep swivel up there for the shoulder part. He does have double jointed. That arm is stiffer, but on this side it does work, as you can see. And he also has swivel in the hands as well as wrist articulation. Now, when it comes to his upper torso, there is a very good range of motion here when it comes to, rotation, right? And also, surprisingly, this figure also has an ability to lean forward with his torso, which is surprising because in most cases, the upper torso doesn't have the best range of movements when it comes to, leaning forward like this. Now, of course, it could be a lot better, right, if they carved out a little bit more room, but the fact that he can do that and also lean back, that is a surprise indeed. So the upper torso is pretty good in my opinion. Now, for the waist part, he does have rotation down here, but when it comes to leaning and going back, it is very restricted. So in this case, the only part that is actually well done is just the upper torso, which is kind of crazy because, most of the time with these Mcfarlane DC figures, they do have some restriction in terms of the articulations in some areas. And whenever they do something like this that just surprises me, it just catches me off guard because, it's very random. I wish they were consistent with how they do the articulations every time they put out a figure, but fortunately, that's not how it is with this company. So there is that whole thing. Let's move on to the legs now. Let's see if we can do the splits. That's a pretty good split right there. Kicking outward. Not too bad. Double jointed in the legs. Does work. He also has articulation in the feet, swivel, and toe articulation. And of course, one other thing, just to make sure, because, sometimes I do forget to bring this up. Does he have upper thigh swivels? No, he does not. They do not work. Well, that is unfortunate. And that is pretty much all the articulation for Arsenal. And now it's time I show what he looks like with his accessories equipped to him. And I might have to do a little cut right here because putting the bow onto his hands is going to be annoying. So give me a second. And we are back. So here is Arsenal with all his accessories equipped to him. And I was right. The bow is a pain in the ass to equip into his hands, but I was able to do it. So this is what he looks like holding the bow. And for the other accessory, this is what it looks like on the back of him. And it was really simple to do because all you do is just peg this part into the hole on the backside of the figure, and there you go. So yeah, not too bad. He looks pretty cool with all his accessories. Unfortunately, you're not going to really get him into any action poses because of the fact that he doesn't have any singular arrow that he can hold between his fingers. So yeah, if you're trying to recreate some sort of action scene or something, that's not possible with this guy. So that is a bummer. All right, let's move on to the comparisons now, and let's have them next to a couple other figures, of course. So let's start with Connor Hawk Green Arrow. And as you can see, both of these figures do reuse a lot of parts from each other. Now, of course, this is the original body buck that they reused for this guy, and then they did some slight retooling in some areas. But if you look closely at both of them, if you have both of these figures, you can tell that they are very much similar. So there is the comparisons between these two. And here he is next to a member of the Teen Titans who is not part of this wave. She was a collector edition figure, and that, of course, is Starfire. Let me just get her to stand, please. As you can see, the two of them do fit nicely together because they are both based on comic book designs. So if you are trying to build a Teen Titans comic book shelf, these two figures are definitely good options for that. And let's move on to the next figure, and these are all going to be part of the same wave that he came with. So, of course, here he is next to the leader of the Teen Titans, and that, of course, is Nightwing. Not too bad. Here he is next to Donna Troy. And as you can see, Donna Troy, in terms of scale, is, of course, taller than Arsenal, right? So she is the tallest member of this team when it comes to, these four characters, excluding Beast Boy, because Beast Boy towers over all of them. And here he is next to Raven. Yeah, not bad. So I like the fact that they're all comic book designs because they do fit together nicely. And of course, for the final figure for this comparison, here he is next to Beast Boy. And as you can see, Beast Boy is gigantic. He is Hulk size. I don't know why he's Hulk size, but still, really cool Build-A-Figure right here. And we will be talking about him next, of course, because he is the final figure of this wave. He's the bonus figure. So stay tuned, because that is going to be the next review. And that's going to wrap it up for the comparisons. If you found today's review on Arsenal informative, do give this video a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more action figure content and whatever else I do on here, it would be much appreciated. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.